Coming up on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now, we're going to go over all of the latest Eagles news, all of the latest Eagles rumors, and analysis with all of our loyal subscribers right here on the show. As always, I know that Eagles fans, so smart, so intelligent, so I always like to get you on the show so that you can spit your knowledge and so that we can chop it up and talk birds. Before we get started, Super Bowl 58 coming up. Who do you got in Super Bowl 58 from Las Vegas? I know that Eagles fans don't like either of these teams, and the San Francisco 49ers because of the recent rivalry, or the Kansas City Chiefs because of what happened in Super Bowl 57. Get those predictions in right now in the comment section and show off that football intellect. Let's start off with Dennis Designs, a $10 super chat right here. Where can we watch Radio Row? I think that Jason Kelce will be back. Can we trade James Bradberry? So, going to be doing coverage from Super Bowl Radio Row in Las Vegas, looking to catch up with hopefully some current and former players if we see them hanging around, some NFL analysts, NFL insiders, just nonstop coverage right here on Eagles Now. You don't want to miss it. As for James Bradberry, here's the situation with Bradberry. He carries a dead cap hit charge of $17.2 million if the Eagles cut him, has a 2024 option bonus of $9.64 million in guaranteed money. And with how bad he was in 2023, I'm not sure there's a team that's going to want to take a chance on James Bradberry and pay him that salary. And I don't think that Philadelphia financially, it makes sense for them to cut him, eat $17.2 million because he was bad last year. They're really pinned into a corner here where Howie Roseman, who backloads a lot of his contracts, this is where it comes back to bite him a little bit because he backloaded the Bradberry deal knowing and thinking, okay, James Bradberry, Darius Slay, statistically, according to Pro Football Focus, were two of the top cornerbacks in the game in 2022. Nobody expected that decline to happen so fast for Bradberry. It literally did. What's also interesting is that if you look at Bradberry's entire career, he's literally had one good year, one bad year, one good year, one bad year. Maybe Bradberry can get back on track in 2024, although I have my doubts, and trading him is just going to be very, very difficult. Brian Thomas with this one, assuming the Eagles do not trade up in the first round of this year's draft, who is Chase Sr.'s number one this year and why? It's a very, very good question. I'm looking at a couple of different positions. The Eagles have not drafted a corner in the first round since Lito Shepherd in 2002. I like some of the corners in this draft class, especially at number 22. I think that you could address that position and address a massive weakness on this Eagles roster. I would also potentially look at wide receiver 3 because I think that good players could fall to the Eagles there. But if you don't address it at number 22, it's a wide receiver deep class, and you can maybe get a wide receiver in round 2 as you have pick number 50 and pick number 53. You could also use another edge rusher. A player like Chop Robinson is a player who I really like. And Philadelphia, if Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox move on and or retire, you need to start tinkering with some defensive linemen. I get it. You have Haason Reddick, you have Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. I wouldn't go interior defensive line, but I'd go edge rusher, corner, wide receiver. I think those positions are really important. You know what would not shock me is if the Eagles went offensive tackle to get their future Lane Johnson replacement at number 22 as well, because they really value offensive line. Andrew Nathan, how do you feel about trading back from 22nd to maybe 26th or 30th? Maybe we get another pick inside the top 100, which would most likely be a third rounder, and also grabbing a late day 3 pick. Let's take a look at the Eagles draft picks if we could there, Chip, because we have that at our disposal. The Eagles are set up pretty nicely. You know, they have 3 picks inside the top 53 here. And if you do want to trade back, because the difference in overall player from 22nd to 26th isn't that drastic, and then you pick up another, let's say, top 60 pick or a top 100 pick, you can get some really high-level players in the first, second, third, fourth, and I believe 5th round nowadays. Now, you can hit occasionally in the 6th as well as in the 7th, but you could still get some marquee starters in that 5th round if your scouting department does their job. So I'm not necessarily opposed to moving down 26-30, and then picking up another top 60, top 100 pick, and being able to bring in even more quality players to this Eagles roster. Carol Hosey, Ladd McConkey would be an awesome wide receiver 3. So he plays at Georgia. He is strictly a slot wide receiver. He's pretty shifty. He's a little bit small to play on the outside, which is why he is in the slot. And I would kind of compare him to, a Hunter Renfrow at Clemson, a Julian Edelman with the New England Patriots. I'm not going to go as far as saying a Jackson Smith-Njigba because he could play outside because he has that speed, but as far as body type goes, Jackson Smith-Njigba isn't all that big. Ladd McConkey, second round, I wouldn't hate it, but the thing is, too, the Eagles do like to utilize Devontae Smith out of the slot as well. Alex Irvine, with the acquisition of Kellen Moore, will his offensive philosophy mesh well with what Jalen Hurts does well? Kellen Moore was able to elevate Dak Prescott. Kellen Moore coached up Dak Prescott where he had a lot of really good production and won a lot of games. You think about what Kellen Moore did in 2022 with Dak Prescott, that offense was still really good, and Kellen Moore had a top 5 overall offense with the Dallas Cowboys when he was their OC, and last year they won a lot of games with Dak Prescott leading the NFL in interceptions thrown. So I know that a lot of people have soured on Kellen Moore, and I think his stock cooled down a little bit because the offense dipped down in 2022 with Dallas and wasn't all that good in 2023 with the Chargers. A lot of that caused by injury. But what I'm excited about is just the new, fresh, modern-day creative offensive philosophy. And I've seen a couple of videos of how he examines the game and how he explains the game to his team. He thinks on the fly. He thinks creatively. The Eagles need that because their offense became so stale, mundane, lame, and predictable in 2023. So I think with that pre-snap motion, where Philadelphia was ranked 32nd in pre-snap motion rate, with new concepts, layering routes, doing things differently, it's going to be able to maximize the play of Jalen Hurts because we saw it with Dak Prescott, and I think that Jalen Hurts, when he's at his best, he's a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. Grade the Eagles' coaching hiring so far. And speaking about Kellen Moore, you have Kellen Moore at OC, you have Vic Fangio at DC, Clint Hurt along that defensive line, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know down in the comments section. Limited time only. We do have a great deal that we want to tell you about. This Philadelphia Eagles t-shirt and hat combo. It's on sale. Again, limited time only for just $34. What you have to do is use that link down below, chatsports.com/Eagles combo. Again, you get both for the price pretty much of one. And who doesn't like to support their Eagles year-round with the hat, with the shirt, by getting some Eagles swag? That link is hanging out down in the comment section and in the description of this video. Next up, let's go to Erica Jones. How excited are we to see what these 3 new coaches are going to do with this team? I'm very excited, and I think it was much needed. I thought that if you ran it back, and I didn't think they were going to run it back with Sean Desai. So let's say if the Eagles ran it back with Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni, the fan base has no confidence. There's no intrigue to see what's going to be new. And then from the player standpoint, they're like, we fell apart at the end of the year, and other teams were calling out our plays. We struggled to move the football, let alone score it, and now we're just going to run it back? No. Let's bring in a new offense. Let's revamp this defense. And what I like from Nick Sirianni, as well as Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, is that now, as compared to 2023, when you had young, inexperienced play callers at OC and DC, now you have veteran, respected minds who have been in this league and have produced really good results while calling the defense and calling the offense. I don't love how Vic Fangio calls the game from the booth. I think having that energy on the sideline is preferable for me, but that's his style. Andrew Nathan Chase, Quinyon Mitchell is the perfect young defensive back for Fangio's system. He plays off coverage and, in my opinion, is the best coverage DB in the draft. He's been killing it in Mobile. Thoughts on the player? Well, Andrew, you're not the only one who has taken an interest in Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. The Eagles are as well. Why? How do I know that? Eagles met with him in Mobile, Alabama during the Senior Bowl. And you're right, he's had a good week playing in the Reese Senior Bowl. Eagles met with them there, finished second in the country, back-to-back years with 19 pass breakups in 2022 and 2023. He could play inside out, expected to run a fast 40. I like his size. I get it. You might look at Toledo and say, small school corner, he can't play. In the NFL, there's some really good talent that can come out of some of those small schools. Callie Green, what a legendary profile picture right there. Jason Kelce in the Mummers gear. Fangio linebacker targets. Andrew Van Ginkel, Josey Jewell. So you're mentioning those, and that's a man who knows the show. That's a man who knows ball in Callie Green, because Andrew Van Ginkel had a career year playing under Vic Fangio with Miami, and he was said to really like playing in Fangio's scheme. And then Josey Jewell played under Fangio, and he was the head coach with Denver. And both of those linebackers, Van Ginkel, Josey Jewell, they played well under Vic Fangio, and this is of note as well. You're not going to have to break the bank for those players. We know that Howie Roseman doesn't like to invest overly in that linebacker position. And in bringing in those players, you get quality players who know the system, who have played well under Vic Fangio, and Howie Roseman's favorite, he doesn't have to pay him a lot of dough. Lysandra Johnson, if it's Lysandra Johnson, hopefully I got it right one of the two times, and I apologize if I did mispronounce it. I think that we should pick up a wide receiver 3 like Michael Pittman Jr., don't you? He's not going to get paid like a wide receiver 3. And that's part of the issue here. Now, if you go Brian Thomas out of LSU, I like him. If Keon Coleman, who Alex Irvine brings up, and we could pop to that, if he's on the board as a jump ball 50-50 type of wideout who can play the outside where you have Devontae Smith in the slot, I wouldn't hate that. Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, another really good player that I like. There are some really good wide receivers in this draft class who you don't have to take in round 1, who you can get day 2, day 3, in the middle rounds, who I think could have an impact year 1 under Kellen Moore. Make sure you subscribe to the show so that you can get your questions answered every time that we go live right here on Eagles Now. As always, thanks for the support. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to hit that sub button.